What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so it was during this offseason that the Phoenix Suns acquired Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards. And it was about maybe a week or so ago that it was announced that Bradley Beal would be the starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns this upcoming season, which shocks a lot of us. And today, the Phoenix Suns came out with what will be their projected starting lineup for the 2023-24 season. Of course, I guess this is subject to change due to maybe injuries or what have you. But the projected starting point guard, as I said, is Bradley Beal. They're talking about how Bradley Beal has made strides in playmaking for teammates. Let me turn this page down.
Wonder this morning, Greg.
It's about how he's made strides as far as playmaking for his teammates. Last year, he averaged 23.2 points and 5.4 assists on 50.6% shooting overall from the floor, 36.5% from three-point range, and 84.2% from the charity stripe. And my thing is, while he may have improved with his ball handling and passing and playmaking, he's still, I would imagine, his designated role for his team was score, especially in clutch situations. And it would have to be a serious adjustment, man, for a dude like him to now, I'm going to assume, defer to a Kevin Durant, defer to a Devin Booker. And I'm assuming even at times deferring to a DeAndre Ayton when the matchup is in his favor. So it's like, that's going to be a hell of an adjustment for him, man. You know what I'm saying? And I know you're trying to say every decent team has multiple ball handlers who can set the table and create from scratch and all of that. Yeah. But, you know what I'm saying? Becoming a primary point guard, that takes an adjustment. That takes probably a season worth of adjustments, at the very least. Primary backup point guard would be Jordan Goodwin. Last year, he appeared in 62 games, averaged 6.6 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 2.7 assists, and a little under 18 minutes per game. He built a reputation last year as a defensive stopper, and he came over in the Bradley Beal trade, and defense is something that they're going to desperately try to build up on, because that was one of their weak spots last year, as well as their bench depth. And other potential players who may spend some time at the point include Devin Booker and Eric Gordon. The Suns' projected starting shooting guard, of course, is going to be Devin Booker, barring injury. And Devin Booker absolutely thrived playing with Kevin Durant offensively. He had multiple 40-point performances and had multiple huge quarters in the playoffs, and even in the regular season. He had some big games, but he really ramped it up in the postseason, to the point where you could even argue that even though this is considered KD's team, Devin Booker probably was the most impactful player during the postseason. But then again, you could argue that's because Kevin Durant was getting the double teams, leaving Booker wide open oftentimes. So he'll be the starting shooting guard. The primary backup will be Eric Gordon, 34 years old, had some of his best years with the Clippers earlier in his career, 18 to 22 point per game scorer. Beginning to slow down a little bit. Not quite the defender he once was in his prime in the Houston Rockets days, but still can get the job done. And is definitely a big three-ball threat. And other players who can receive minutes at shooting guard include Bradley Beal and Damian Lee. The projected small forward is going to be Josh Okogie. And Josh Okogie started 26 of 72 appearances last year. He primarily took over starting duties after the trade deadline wiped out the Phoenix Suns' wing depth chart. And the Suns have a couple of other viable options here, Eric Gordon for one, but Frank Vogel is expected to prioritize defense, which would put Josh Okogie in that position. He's 6 foot. He's 6'4", but has a wingspan of nearly 7 feet, and is a highly versatile weapon on the defensive end. And he can play between the 1 and the 4, depending upon the matchup. And he's not a great 3-point shooter, only 32.5%. But what he can provide on the defensive end probably outweighs and outflanks some of his offensive liabilities, considering the firepower that's around him offensively. So that makes sense. Primary backup small forward is Yuta Watanabe, and he's 6'9". Don't know how many attempts he had, but he hit 44.4% of his 3-point attempts. I believe that's the guy who's played for the Brooklyn Nets, now with the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, that's him. So he's pretty money from downtown. And other players who may play at small forward include Kevin Durant, Damian Lee, and Eric Gordon. At power forward, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant obviously is not a physical force, but he's makes sense considering that he's about 6'10" and a half at the very least, and is an unbelievable offensive weapon. I think KD's 240, 235. I know when he came to the NBA he was 215. I think he's like 235, 240 now, but you really don't see much of the game. Like, he's a gangly dude and one of the best offensive players in the history of the NBA. He's a career 50% shooter, a career 38% 3-point shooter, career 89% free throw shooter, I think, 88, 89%. One of the great offensive players in the history of the NBA, one of the great jumpers in the history of the NBA, probably the best mid-range shooter in the NBA right now. I would put him a little bit ahead of Kawhi Leonard. I think he's the best mid-range shooter in the NBA. And defensively, I think Kevin Durant played his best defense as a Warrior. His playmaking improved as a Warrior. One of the problems with KD, though, sometimes is that I think he can be turnover prone. But at the same time, his defense, from what I could tell last year, took a little bit of a step backwards. But he's not terrible from defense. He's not terrible as a defensive player. And, this article I'm reading from makes a good point. Considering that he'll be playing with Bradley Booker and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, they might be able to shore enough offense so that KD may be able to expend more energy on the defensive end than he's been able to in recent years. So that's a good point too. Primary backup point guard is Keita Bates-Diop, and he played for San Antonio last year, averaging 9.7 points and 3.7 rebounds. Other players who might receive minutes at power forward include Yuta Watanabe and Bobo and Ish Wainwright. And at center, DeAndre Ayton, who looked like he was on his way out, but that's not the case. And even though he's a guy that I don't think plays to his full abilities, at the same time, when you're playing with this much talent around you, even what he provides is still, still a bonus. What is he? I got to give you like 18 and 10, but he's so much more capable of that, man. You know what I'm saying? Maybe with the coach that he hates out of the way, now fired. You know what I'm saying? Now that Monty Williams is gone, now that the teammate that he hate, Chris Paul is gone, maybe he'll be in a better mental frame of mind. Maybe, he'll come out there and actually give a fuck this year and play, but to his capabilities. But I don't know. I still wonder about Ayton. I still wonder whether or not he may still have an issue being there. He might try to act out and fuck up shit and want to be traded. I'm still not sold on this dude. Other players who may receive minutes at center is Kevin Durant, Bobo, and Chimezie Metu. So we'll have to wait and see, man. We'll have to wait and see how that works. I honestly don't think it's going to work the way that people think it is. I really don't trust Bradley Beal at point guard, and I'm not totally sold on DeAndre Ayton. But that's just me. Tell me what you guys think.